Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I know you're watching along with us as we take in day 2 of the NFL draft. This is another BTSC live roundtable discussion about a Steelers selection. We have a brand new selection with the Steelers' second pick in the second round at pick 49. The Pittsburgh Steelers have selected Keanu Benton, defensive tackle out of Wisconsin. It's Jeremy Betz with you here of the Steelers Fix, joined as always by Andrew Wilbar. Andrew, give us your initial thoughts on Keanu Benton and what he would be as a player for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think he is best suited for a 4-3 scheme. Now, the Steelers have been playing a little bit more 4-3 the past few years. He is going to be in a typical 3-4 set. He is going to be a day one starter at nose tackle. He is not my ideal selection per se, but it is a solid pick, and I trust Carl Dunbar to work with his athleticism, work with his skill set. At the end of the day, I'm totally fine with the pick. Not who I would have wanted necessarily, but a guy that I think is going to be good in Pittsburgh as time goes on.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with what the Steelers have obviously been talking about all offseason, what we've been talking about all offseason, the big areas to improve, that's what they've addressed so far. And I think defensive tackle was one of those positions that you kind of could put, maybe with interior offensive line or center or something like that, where it wasn't necessarily a major need. Maybe the nose tackle position was for some people more than others, but overall it wasn't necessarily something that if they didn't come out of this draft with a defensive tackle, everyone was going to go crazy. But still, they used this pick. No trade backs in the second round. Kind of boggles my mind. I know you a little bit as well, but you can't argue with quality players as well. And the Steelers have added another one. What is Benton's upside, in your opinion, as a Pittsburgh Steeler for what he brings to the table?
I think his biggest upside is going to come as a run defender. In the Big Ten, he graded out as, I believe, the best run defending defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman in the Big Ten. Now, if you watch the tape, I would argue Mazi Smith. Mazi Smith was much better, just on a totally different level in terms of run defending. Having said that, Benton is impressive in his own right. He has a good get off the line of scrimmage. Jeffrey Bendick and I were talking about this in our meeting room beforehand. He has a fantastic motor, and that is something the Steelers are going to love about him. And if you want insight on this, you can go btsebigboard.com. It's got our big board. It's got my rankings on it, along with all the analysis for every pick that's being taken, not just the Steelers. But if you want more insight on these guys, looking at his combine numbers, which we have listed on there, almost 34-inch arms. He ran a 5.1 flat in the 40-yard dash, 25 reps on the bench, 29.5-inch vertical jump, 111 inches in the broad, 7.3 in the three-cone, which is very impressive for a guy 315 pounds, and 4.7 in the shuttle. So this guy's got good athleticism. I think I was talking with someone back at the scouting combine, a guy who works for another Pittsburgh Steelers website. He was at the Senior Bowl, and he talked to Mark Gorsak, one of the Steelers scouts, and he had spoken with Keanu Benton that week as well, and he asked Keanu Benton about the Steelers, and he pretty much just came out and said, the Steelers have shown a lot of interest. We've had good communication with the Steelers, and then he talked to Mark Gorsak, and he asked Mark Gorsak about that. Is this legitimate? Like, Keanu Benton, what are your thoughts? It's like, yeah, you got that one right. We like Keanu Benton, and the Steelers didn't really hide that throughout the process. They showed interest in him in just about every phase of the process. So it is not a surprise at all. I think we all kind of thought this was a reasonable selection at pick 49. I would give it a solid B as a grade, but a guy who, by all means, with the coaching of Carl Dunbar, who in my opinion is maybe the best defensive line coach in all the NFL, you're talking to the guy who has Pro Bowl potential as soon as, year 2, year 3. This guy's going to be an immediate contributor, and he's only going to get better as time goes on.
Yeah, I think you can say that about both of the Steelers' first-round picks. Immediate contributors have the chance to get better. The Steelers' second-round picks. My bad. Thank you for correcting me there. The Steelers' second-round selection was your top cornerback in the entire draft class. So that's awesome. We're getting some comments asking, is Benton going to play nose tackle or more of a 3 tech in Pittsburgh? I think you and I were talking about with the guys on Slack beforehand on the BTSC Slack channel that we think he'll probably plug in at nose, but his highest upside is probably as a 3-tech though. Wouldn't you say that he's built more like a 3-tech?
Yeah, that's where he played at Wisconsin. And by the way, we were looking this up. If you're looking at the Draft Network saying that he primarily aligned at nose tackle in college, that is incorrect information. Usually the Draft Network is relatively reliable. This is not one instance. Wisconsin plays almost exclusively a 4-man front, so it is impossible for him to play the nose.
Yeah.
So just overall, just for throwing that out there, I'll let you know that. But I will say he is schematically versatile enough. I think a lot of people that think like me, which is very few people, and be thankful if you don't.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good thing, right?
That is a very good thing. I will say, though, I struggle with it because I want to get back so badly to the Casey Hampton mold of nose tackles, the typical nose tackles who can plug the run. And some of these insane athletes like Mozzie Smith, he's a great fit for Dallas because they have a similar front to the Steelers. He's going to be able to rush the passer some from the interior, something that he was not allowed to do at Michigan. And that's why he did not ever have any production. So throwing that out there. But yes, you are correct. I think 4-3 scheme would have been better suited. But again, what are the Steelers doing? Are the Steelers becoming more of that 4-3 team? We've been talking about that for a while. It's possible.
It is. Let me throw up a super chat. We got Tyler W. gives us $10 and says, thank you, Jeremy and Andrew, for your excellent work this draft season. I know all the BTSC family appreciates you. Thank you for that, Tyler W. I had to put that one up there because it's a glowing review of yours truly and then you as well. So we're gonna live in this moment. This is the highlight for us. So let's go.
And we mentioned it a minute ago, but seriously, if those of you that are in the live chat and you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, go right now. Leave us open. Don't close us down. Don't X us out of your browser. But open up a new tab and go to btscbigboard.com. It shows up better on a desktop. That's what it's meant for, but you can use it on your phone. It still works. You just have to scroll a little bit to the left and right for, to be able to get all the information, but it's tracking the picks that are taken. You can put a filter in there for the guys that are still available, which if I stand correct, I missed the last couple picks as we've been on, but unless someone tells me otherwise, DJ Turner is still on the board. He is still he's the only guy I've left with a first-round grade. But all of those guys, we have all the information. The scouting reports, you click on them, got all the information there you need to know about picks. So utilize that. Use that to your advantage. Entirely free to use. So go out and check that, the BTSC Big Board's new website. And thank you to Dave Bartolini for that once again.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Andrew, here's the picks by teams after the Keanu Benton selection. Tell me, as I say the name, would you have rather had the Steelers pick this player? Okay, here we go. Green Bay selects Jaden Reed, wide receiver, Michigan State.
Keanu Benton.
Okay. The Dolphins select cornerback Cam Smith, South Carolina.
Keanu Benton.
The Seattle Seahawks select running back Zach Charbonnet from UCLA.
Keanu Benton.
The Bears, this one's interesting, select defensive tackle from Florida, Jervon Dexter, senior.
Jervon Dexter.
You would have rather had Dexter. Okay. Why is that?
I had a higher grade on Dexter overall. He wouldn't fill the nose tackle role that Keanu Benton could fulfill, but he would be Cam Hayward's long-term replacement. And I would say that almost definitively. He doesn't have much production, but if you compare his tape to Chris Jones's tape of Kansas City coming out, they are built almost identically. The way they play, the way they use their hands, the way they get to the quarterback, almost identical. And Chris Jones, let's not forget, he wasn't exactly the most productive player in college either. So throw the stats out of the book in this case. He has the same traits, same everything. He's almost a carbon copy of Chris Jones. Does that mean he has the same success? We'll see. A lot probably depends on the fit. You said he went to where? Chicago?
Yes, Chicago.
That's an excellent fit for the Chicago Bears. I think I had that at one point in the mock. I ended up swapping it out.
Missing out on Jalen Carter and taking Dexter. That's
and they're a 4-3 front under Eberflus. That is an excellent fit for Chicago. That's maybe their best pick they've had so far.
And one thing, we've got a commenter, David Cagliari, that says Dexter's first step is the worst. That has been the biggest knock on him coming out. If you talk to Dane Brugler from The Athletic, he says that he has the worst first step of any defensive lineman he's ever scouted. And
I wouldn't go that far.
So, yeah, I mean, he gets the glowing reviews for his athleticism, his length, his ability to work blockers, but getting off is definitely his weakest trait.
And some of that has to do also with the inconsistency of Florida's front, aligning him in different stances, whether he's in a 5-point stance, 3 points. Like it wasn't like he was ever in one defensive stance where he could get into a rhythm. Florida's defensive line, it's just weird, and that they never really had much production either.
Yeah,
and that could be a reason why they just kind of mix it up. They stay in the same front, but they align them differently and align them in different stances, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. That could be one of the issues, David, but you're not wrong that his first step isn't great. But again, with a guy with his athleticism and a guy who does have a good motor once he gets going, I feel like that's something that can improve as he gets in with NFL training. I don't think that's an unfixable issue. That's why I would have been totally okay with taking Gervon Dexter and Tyreek Stevenson. The Chicago Bears just selected at pick 56.
Yes,
the guy that the Steelers were rumored to have liked as well.
Yep, and then after Dexter at 53 was Tuli Pelotu.
Benton.
So you'd rather have Benton, the edge from USC. Rashee Rice goes to Kansas City. That's a good pick for Kansas City, but
Benton.
I'm sure we'd rather have Benton. And then Tyreek Stevenson, you're going Benton as well over him after the selection of Joey Porter Jr. Yeah, so let's go back now talking about more about what Keanu Benton brings to the defensive front. If you look at the Steelers personnel now, 7, all right, you've got, I guess let's peg some starters here, Andrew, just with some speculation. Obviously, Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi. Do you think that Benton steps in as the starter amongst those two guys in the base defense, or do you think maybe Ogunjobi rolls inside to the 0, and then you give the Steelers pick last year? I always forget his name for some reason at defensive tackle.
DeMarvin Leal.
Leal. You give him the other defensive end position. What are you doing with those 3 guys, or with those 4 guys there along the defensive line?
I think you're going to see Benton start day 1 and a typical 3-4 alignment. I do think, though, if you get into goal line situations, which typically you would think, okay, well, you're definitely going to have the nose tackle there. Well, Keanu Benton is the Steelers' nose tackle. I think in that situation, you could see Braden Fehoko come in and the Steelers do a 4-man front with Fehoko and Benton over the guards. I think you could see that, and then you would still have Hayward and Ogunjobi probably playing the outside. You may even see some Highsmith rotating in for Larry Ogunjobi on the side because he does a really good job, up against the tackle. On the exterior, he has become a really good run defender, especially over the past season. Highsmith has become one of the best run defending linebackers the Steelers have. Yeah,
and we've seen the Steelers roll into that 4-3 where TJ Watt moves to like a weak side linebacker position, and kind of just shoots a gap, And I think that you're talking 3rd downs, 4th downs, goal line situations. That's definitely something that you could see for sure. So I just think now you've got a rotation of players here that you can feel good about keeping guys fresh, and you still have young talent that's infused that can get better over time as well. Cam Hayward not getting any younger, but still a guy who can give a lot to these guys. So I'm a big fan of the pick overall. Let's transition now, Andrew, to the 3rd round selection. Do you have any idea of what direction the Steelers might go based on their first 3 picks? And obviously we don't know who's going to be there yet, but some position groups maybe that they might target with their last pick until 241 if they don't trade out of that one. So it's going to be interesting. But what you got for pick 80 that the Steelers could be targeting?
I think edge rusher is the position to pay attention to the most because the Steelers have shown so much interest in these guys. One guy I would highlight, those of you that are following this on paper and pen, like I still do the draft, Zach Harrison from Ohio State. He's not 22 yet. He's still only 21 years old. He didn't have much production, but the Steelers have been looking at a lot of those bigger defensive ends. And perhaps the Steelers are looking into more 3-4 looks. They brought in Armand Watts at defensive tackle. If they view him as a starter You put Benton, you keep him in that 4-3 scheme. You still have Hayward and Ogunjobi, and Hayward or Ogunjobi can slide in.
Yeah.
I mean, Hayward, and whenever we align him 4-3, he can play interior. Ogunjobi, he came from a 4-3 system as a defensive tackle. And so you have some versatility on the inside. And when you're looking at guys on the exterior, I think Zach Harrison is a guy who would fill that role. He can play as a stand-up linebacker on the edge as well. He is a guy who just looks like the moldable piece of clay that the Steelers like at edge rusher. Bigger, more athletic. He's almost to the esque of Bud Dupree, a lower level Bud Dupree is what Zach Harrison is. Yeah. I heard rumors about center and the potential of the Steelers actually going after center and just revamping the O-line, but I don't think that's likely now. There's only a couple centers that have starting potential. There's a lot of teams that need center, one of which was the New York Giants, who just took John Michael Schmitz, who I heard could take him in the first round. So not a surprise to see him take him there since he was still on the board. But Jeremy, we're looking at the big board.
Yeah.
DJ Turner, my Michigan guy, still there. We've got Adetomiwa.
Speaking of Michigan guys, the Cowboys just selected Luke Schoonmaker as well.
I saw that. That's a little bit of a surprise over Darnell Washington.
Yeah, he's falling, and it's intriguing to me because of the traits. But
I don't know if teams are just putting down his level of production, but you have to think he was a number 2 tight end in that offense for a reason. That's Brock Bowers, not anything because of what he is or isn't. But DJ Turner's number 1 on the board. We have a big clump of guys: Adebawore, Osiris Torrance. I don't think either of those guys are on the table for the Steelers. Then you got your guy, Darnell Washington. Schmitz is off the board. Dexter's off the board. Then my guy. This is where it gets intriguing. Sidney Brown, Jeremy. I was talking about him back at the combine. If he was there at 32, because of the lack of depth in the safety class, if he was there at 32, the Steelers could consider it.
Yeah.
At 49, he's excellent value. At pick 80, I'm going outside, jumping up and down and yelling to the neighborhood, acting like a complete fool. We just got mini Troy in the 3rd round. He plays like Troy. And then if you've listened to the Steelers Fix, we've talked about him before.
Yes, we have.
Field. He flies to the football. He can blitz. He's athletic. He can tackle. Don't let that 5'8", 5'9" frame fool you. This guy can tackle. He loves coming downhill and hitting people. He's accurate. He takes good tackling angles. I absolutely love Sidney Brown. He's a perfect fit for the Steelers, albeit Steelers haven't shown much interest in him. I got to ask him at the combine in that media scrum about the comparisons to Troy Polamalu, and he said Troy's one of those guys that he does watch tape on. He tries to emulate his game after. Not the only guy, but he's one of the guys. But, Jeremy, I don't know what you're thinking. I'm curious to get your thoughts. If Darnell Washington isn't there, what would you be looking at?
Yeah, I think tight end is definitely still something I'm looking at. Even if he's not there, you've still got guys like Brenton Strange, Will Mallory. You've got some good players there still that have some athleticism and some potential to be inline blockers as well as pass catchers for the Steelers.
I don't mean to cut you off, Jeremy, but someone in the live chat put something, I think it's David Kellyari, that puts on interesting. Dorian Williams, that was the other guy we've talked about some.
Yes.
If he's there. Is Trenton Simpson been taken?
He has not yet been taken, no.
What if he
and
falls
the Bills,
all the way to 80? Can you imagine that?
Yeah, the Bills just took Osiris Torrance, who I thought they could target in the 1st round, but so yeah, the linebacker group is still very much in play. Drew Sanders is still available as well. So you could get one of those guys. I still like DeMarvion Overshone as well in the 3rd, 4th round range. So linebacker could definitely be the pick. It would be very interesting for the Steelers to go offensive tackle and then add 3 straight defenders. So we'll see how that plays out. But yes, could definitely be the option there. Any final thoughts, Andrew, before we go on Keanu Benton or what the Steelers have in store for the remainder of the draft before we head out?
I just think expect a really solid player. He's got some upside as a pass rusher, not as much as Mozzie Smith, but a guy who has more production than Mozzie Smith in the pass rushing department, and a guy who's going to come in and be a solid player year one. Guy who's got some upside to grow, and a guy who I think with the work of Carl Dunbar is going to become a solid player in the NFL. I give the grade a B+.
Awesome. I agree with you. I'm going to go ahead and give it actually an A- because I think the fit is just perfect with what the Steelers need and what the coaching staff that they have there, Cam Hayward, the type of player he could be as well. So, all right, that's going to do it for us here, the Steelers Fix guys here on the BTSC Round 2 Roundtable. And we're going to have more content for you here on the Steel Curtain Network. Be sure to go to behindthesteelcurtain.com for written works on all of the picks and all of the news and notes from the draft. And stay tuned to the I said too many F's there. FFSN NFL channel as well for more information on the draft. Follow us all on Twitter and be safe out there. Don't party too hard with this fantastic draft, Steelers fans. And let's have a good night. Andrew, talk to you later, man.
You too.